Was it banned or buried? A book erased from most Bibles, hidden for centuries in the Eastern Highlands where time forgot it. Its pages speak of a moment when heaven fell to earth, of divine beings who crossed a line set at creation. Names were whispered, then silenced. Pages were copied in secret, then sealed away. Those who read it said the ground of history shifted under their feet, because inside is a pattern that repeats, a warning that refuses to die. If this was only superstition, why did it survive in the shadows? If it was only myth, why does it sound like tomorrow? Why was it silenced? Because what it reveals still shakes the powers of heaven and earth. The Book of Enoch begins with a warning to mankind that loves power, to angels who turned the world into a house of violence and sorcery. Its oldest lines reach back more than 2,000 years, yet they describe a world before the flood, a world that learned too much and forgot wisdom. Early councils set it outside the canon, and in the West it faded from sight. Not because it was harmless, but because its visions cut too close. It speaks of rebellion above and corruption below, of judgments written before kings were born. It dares to name the forces that teach forbidden knowledge and the price that always follows. What truth could make guardians of Scripture choose silence? What vision could make the faithful look away? Keep listening. Before we see the fall on the mountain, we must meet the one man who walked with God and did not taste death. Before prophets ever walked the earth, there was Enoch, seventh from Adam, son of Jared, great-grandfather of Noah. He was born in an age when men still remembered the voice of God, yet few dared to listen. Scripture gives only a single mystery. Enoch walked with God and was no more, for God took him. 365 years he lived, one for every day of the year, and then he vanished without death, without a grave, without a trace. What kind of life makes heaven reach down and take a man alive? Some said he was more than a prophet, others called him the scribe of righteousness, the one who wrote down the secrets of heaven so that future generations would remember what the world forgot. Ancient writings hint that he taught wisdom to his people, that he warned them of judgment before judgment had a name. Later traditions whispered that he was Melchizedek, the priest-king who knew no beginning or end, the bridge between earth and eternity. The early fathers, Justin Martyr, Irenaeus, Clement, Origen, Tertullian, spoke of him with reverence, calling him the man who saw both worlds and lived to tell of it. But as centuries passed, his name faded into silence. Scrolls crumbled, languages changed, and the one who walked with God became a footnote. Yet the silence itself became a sign, for in every age someone rediscovers his story and feels that same pull toward the sky. And in those whispers, rumors of the moment heaven came down. Night falls over Mount Hermon. The sky trembles with thunder, the air burns with strange fire. In the days of Jared, 200 heavenly beings descend, led by Samyazan, their chief. He speaks with fear. I dread that you will not do this thing, and I alone will bear the burden of a great sin. But they swear together, an oath no heaven could forgive, and 20 chiefs of tens seal it in fire. Among them, Azazel, whose hands will teach blood to flow from the earth, Armaros, who will twist prayer into incantation, Penemu, who will reveal the art of writing, and with it the power to deceive, Kokabel, who charts the stars, binding fate to rebellion, Barachiel, who turns light itself into vanity and pride. Their names echo through the clouds like thunder, and from that night the mountain is called Hermon, the mountain of the oath. Then they descend among the daughters of men, taking wives, and from their union come the Nephilim, giants of great stature and cruel wisdom. They devour the earth and teach mankind the ways of ruin. And Azazel opens the forge, and iron sings. He shows men how to shape swords and shields, how to polish stones and paint the face meant to bear God's image. Armaros teaching charms, Penemu spreading deceit, Kokabel exalting the stars above the Creator. The light of heaven is broken and scattered among men. Knowledge meant for heaven becomes corruption on earth. And when creation itself cries out beneath the weight of it, one man is chosen to carry heaven's verdict. The cries of the earth reach the gates of heaven. The mountains groan, the rivers run red, and before the throne of the Almighty, 4 archangels kneel. Michael, the commander of hosts. Gabriel, the herald of divine wrath. Raphael, the healer of creation. Uriel, the keeper of light and knowledge. They plead for the earth to be spared, but the decree has already gone forth. To Raphael, God says, "Bind Azazel beneath the desert stones. Let the earth itself testify against him." To Gabriel, "Go forth against the giants, children of corruption, and make war until they are no more." To Michael, "Seize the watchers who defiled heaven's trust. Cast them into the mountains of the earth, bound until the day of fire." To Uriel, "Go to Noah. Reveal to him the end that comes. Tell him to hide himself, for the flood shall wash the earth clean." And to Enoch, the man who still walks between heaven and earth, comes a final command. "Carry my message to the condemned. Tell them their petitions will not rise again, for mercy is spent and judgment begins." Chains for the fallen, cleansing for the world. Heaven would rather drown the earth than let corruption reign forever. So, why did this book vanish from the canon? Because it told too much. It unveiled what many dared not confront, that evil began not only in Eden, but in heaven itself. To the early church, such visions were too dangerous. They blurred the line between heaven and man, between the sacred and the fallen, between what could be forgiven and what could never return. When the Apostle Jude quoted from Enoch, "Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his holy ones," it wasn't only prophecy. It was a revelation too vast for comfort, that heaven's armies will return for mankind, and for the rebellion that began above. So the councils chose silence over remembrance. They sealed the book. They buried its warnings beneath centuries of dust. Because some truths were never lost, only hidden, waiting for their appointed time. Enoch is lifted into the heavens and shown what no mortal had seen. Before him lie the books of life, records of every soul, every thought, every hidden act. He walks through halls of flame where the watchers are bound, and through chambers where judgment burns without end. He sees how pride in heaven became violence on earth, how one rebellion above birthed countless wars below. A flood will cleanse creation, yet not all will pass away. The bodies of the giants will drown, but their spirits will remain, restless, whispering among men, stirring the hearts of kings and dreamers, urging humanity to reach for godhood without God. Then the heavens split apart. A throne blazes before him, brighter than the sun, and upon it sits one like a son of man, the elect one, the righteous judge. Crowns fall, the proud bow low. The righteous shine like morning stars. Enoch beholds redemption before Bethlehem, mercy before it has a name, and realizes that salvation was written in heaven long before it walked the earth. The Archangel Uriel, guardian of stars, leads him further still beyond the veil of night. He sees the sun and moon trace their courses, the measure of seasons, the order of days, 364 in perfect harmony. Every orbit obeys its maker. What men will one day call astronomy, Enoch sees as worship in motion, a universe singing its obedience. At last, the visions fade, and Enoch turns to his son, Methuselah. "Hold fast to righteousness," he says, "for every age is tested." He reveals 10 prophetic weeks from the first dawn of creation to the flood, to the final renewal when heaven and earth will shine as one. And then he speaks of a child yet unborn, Noah, whose birth will carry the light of mercy through the waters of wrath. For even in judgment, Enoch tells him, God leaves a flame to guide those who still seek his face. So why was this voice silenced? Because it revealed a truth too difficult to forget, that the fall of man was not born in Eden alone, but echoed the pride that first rose in heaven. It showed how rebellion above gave birth to rebellion below, how creation mirrors its maker both in glory and in grief. And that pattern, Enoch said, would return at the end of days. But later generations could not bear its mirror. They twisted its meaning, calling it myth or legend or the tale of ancient visitors from the stars. Yet Enoch never spoke of metal or machines. He spoke of spirits, of consequence, of knowledge without wisdom, and of men who would become the watchers of their own age. Look around our world. Machines now speak with human voices. Minds build their own creators. Power races ahead of wisdom, and once again, mankind reaches for the secrets of heaven with unclean hands. Enoch's warning was never a relic, it was a prophecy. And power without humility always ends the same, in floods of our own making. They buried this book because it reminded the proud that heaven still watches, that judgment does not begin above us, it begins within us. If you feel a stirring in your spirit, do not silence it. Seek what was hidden, because the same light that carried Enoch from the earth still calls to those who will walk with God. And those who listen will never walk in darkness. The book of Enoch was never truly lost. It was waiting buried until its appointed time. Now that you've heard its warning, do not let it fade again. Share this message so others may see what was hidden. Because every generation must decide to repeat the fall or to rise and walk once more with God.